Namaskar everyone. This is Prash. We have had exciting in Sci'versation days over the last 3 weeks. Really delighted to have one of my seniors, Dr. Pawan. He was my senior in P.K. Gupta's lab at Chaudhary Charan Singh University. I've really learned a lot of things from Pawan sir during my short stint of about 7 months. That was way back in 2003. And, to have Pawan sir as a kind of a motive force, so that young generation could really take a lot of inspiration. Pawan sir is absolutely very down to earth person. It's an absolute delight to have him. If you really see all the members of Professor P.K. Gupta's lab, the most enterprising thing with P.K. Gupta's students is that Guruji always know what is the most enterprising. That enterprisingness is nothing but to ask questions. And that has really gone through a wonderful tutelage. Pawan sir has really taken that particular thing to his students as well. And he went on to become one of the youngest professors in plant genetics at the age of 37, I believe. That is a kind of an awesome thing with Pawan sir. So without wasting much time, in fact, if we have any guests here, we simply Google, we go through their LinkedIn pages, and we also get to know them from their publications and all those kind of stuffs. But we have something in the form of a presentation from Pawan sir, which I will stream it here. I requested sir to give some of the most enterprising moments of his life, which probably I'll quickly glance at them so that sir can really tell us about those particular pictures. Those who are here and those who are watching in YouTube, you may please pose some questions. But those who are here, please put off your video, please, and please put off your microphone. This is absolutely a very important request that we are trying to make it for you. So please put off your video and also please put off your microphone. Thank you so much for obliging to my request. So before we begin the presentation, I'll just give a gist of it. Pawan sir was, as I told you, he's a PhD from Professor P.K. Gupta's lab in Chaudhary Charan Singh University, where he obtained his PhD in 2004. Before which he did his master's from Dr. Punjab Rao Deshmukh Agriculture University in Akola. And then he had an opportunity to come back to his alma mater, where he joined as an assistant professor over there between 2005 to 2009. And then he became an associate professor in 2009, and that is how his wonderful scientific journeys have really started. So, sir, I hope you can see the slides.
Prashant, I'm not able to see the slides. I don't know why.
Sir, can you click my name? There is a name. There are two names in my this thing.
Yes.
Can you? Yeah. So if you can see that, can you see my slide now?
Well, I have clicked on that. I have cleaned also, but I don't know what is happening. Okay. Now I can see. Okay, just need to project it. Full screen.
Yeah. So do you want me to go to the presentation view?
No, you can just scroll on the slide, then we can discuss. Okay, now it's visible.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for your time and energy today, for again to be in Sci'versation with me here. It's an absolute delight. Thank you so much for your time. So, sir, I mean your main slide. So, sir, as I told you, has done his BSc and MSc in Agricultural Sciences from Dr. Punjab Deshmukh Agriculture University in Akola. And this is how it is. Now he has been a full-time professor at Mahatma Phule Krishi Vidyalaya in Rahuli, Maharashtra. And sir, we really wanted to hear from you on all these wonderful accolades. So will you please tell us, these wonderful importances that you can want to cherish, please?
Okay, thank you, Prashant, for having me on your program. I don't know whether I deserve that credit or not, but since you were insisting that I must join this, so thanks again. So many of my students have also joined. Maybe they will come to know some part of my program. I think there is echo. Okay. So, Prashant, the slide which I wanted to focus or show here is that on the left side, it is the College of Agriculture Akola, where I did my BSc Agriculture, and during 1994 to 1998. So that was the starting journey for me in the area of plant sciences. And on the right side, you can also see the board where you can also list of merit students is listed. So they also listed that I was the top scorer in the university during the year 1998. So that was the picture of BSc Agriculture. And subsequently, after doing my BSc Agriculture, I joined the same university, but the postgraduate institute TGI Akola for a MSc in genetics and plant breeding. So there is the building, the bottom side. So in the year 1998, I joined the MSc Agriculture, and then one interesting thing happened in my life was actually I will just spare more time on this slide. Prashant, I'm getting a lot of background noise from your side.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry for this. So, friends, if I may request you to mute your microphones, please. There are a few who have not muted your microphones, please. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, sir. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. So you can come to next slide, Prashant, because that is the most interesting slide. What happened in the year 2000 when I was about to submit my MSc thesis? So there was an advertisement from the lab of Professor P.K. Gupta. Uh, they used to organize contact programs sponsored by Department of Science and Technology, DST sponsored contact programs. So they were meant for the young MSc students to pursue their career or interest in the area of molecular markers and molecular breeding. So I was very casually applied for the training program. It was for 2 weeks, and then I forgot what will happen. Interestingly, after some days, I got a phone call in the night at my residence, and the next person mentioned that, hello, I am Raju Vashne, and I'm from Meerut. That first visit to Meerut in 2000 really changed the way I started working, because when I saw the lab culture in the lab of Professor Gupta, you can see all these Dr. Manoj sir, Dr. Raju Vashne, Dr. Joy Kumar Roy, they were doing that. In fact, Manoj sir was the postdoctorate in that lab. Raju sir was submitting about to submit his thesis, and Joy sir was in writing. So when I saw that culture in the lab of Professor Gupta, then I thought it is time that I should join the lab as a PhD student. And subsequently, they had one post of SRF in one of the ICR funded project. And I went for the interview, and then I was selected. And then I joined my PhD with Professor Gupta while working in the same lab. And since then, it took almost 4 years, up to 2004. December 2004, I submitted my PhD thesis. But interestingly, I think that 4.5 years which I spent in the lab of Professor Gupta was basically the foundation of what I am today, and what I learned or what I am doing. They all credit goes to Professor Gupta and the lab at Meerut. And you also were part of that lab, and almost everybody who joined that lab or worked with Professor Gupta is doing good wherever they are. So the next picture on the right side is Professor Gupta on the day of convocation in 2005, and on the right side of Professor Gupta you can see Professor Shailendra Sharma, who is now head of the department of. He was one of the participants in our program also during 2000, and then now he is the head of that department. See how the transformation has taken place. That whoever joined with Professor Gupta and learned something, they could achieve something in their life. So the picture in the center on the left side is the last year we made when there was the 50 years of the Golden Jubilee celebration of our department, alma mater at Meerut. And the next picture is with Professor Gupta and Auntie Ji, whom we call Auntie Ji. In fact, I do not call Professor Gupta as Sir. I always refer to him as a Guruji because that is the mark of respect I always had for him. And we also have some memories with the lab that on the 70th birthday of Professor Gupta, we all the lab members joined the alumni joined the uh, party on the extreme left. You see that Rajiv sir, Joy sir, and so many, not Joy sir, Sandeep sir, Palyan sir, Riyaz, Vijay, all are there to celebrate the 75th birthday of Professor Gupta in the year 2011. And in the center, you see that there are two interesting fellows who really are very good friends of mine. And the center is the Ravinder Singh, who is now assistant professor at University of Jammu, Sci'versation University of Jammu, in the Department of Biotechnology. While on the left is Rajiv, who both were my roommates almost for more than 2 years. In fact, I also stayed with Joy sir, Joy Kumar Roy, for 2 years before Ravindra and Rajiv joined me. Last year we had a reunion at where you are also there in the picture besides Sumna. So we are there what is there. But one thing I emphasize on that the period which I spent with Professor Gupta for 4.5 years in that lab really changed the way I am doing today. Getting a job is different, Prashant, but really getting a job where you can do something of your interest is what the difference that I could experience from my experience with the Professor Gupta's lab. Then, after joining Akola in 2005, immediately after completing my PhD, I joined Akola as the assistant professor in the university. And immediately in the next year, subsequent 1 year, 2006, I got selected for Dr. Norman Borlaug Fellowship. That was the launching fellowship by ICR and USDA. So I don't know how my name was communicated to ICR, but I got a call from one day from Professor N.K. Singh. You know, Professor N.K. Singh is the rice genomics. And he said
Right,
that
right.
you have been selected for this prestigious program, and he informed me. So in the year 2006, we were almost 15 people from India were sent to USA in different laboratories for 1 month training. And that 1 month training was a 2 weeks program in different laboratories, while 2 weeks program with interaction with Professor Norman Borlaug, his ancestral village, attending World Food Prize Symposium, interaction with so many people. So that was really a very good experience for me. So for 2 weeks, I worked with George Dubkowski. You know, he's a very eminent scientist working in the area of genetics at the
Yes.
Department of Plant Sciences, UC Davis. In fact, after doing my PhD, I wanted to join his lab as a postdoc. I had two important events. I wanted either join the lab of Professor Marsoes or Professor George Dubkowski because I work on grain protein content and PRS protein. And these two fellows are still working on those aspects. In fact, I tried to contact for postdoctorate, but they had no vacancies after my PhD, so I could not join. But anyhow, ICR placed me for 2 weeks orientation with George Dubkowski. In fact, I don't know how they decided, but based on my publication, they saw that this is the right laboratory. So one of my wish that I should work with Professor George Dubkowski, it was directly or indirectly was taken care by ICR. I had 2 weeks orientation in the lab of George Dubkowski. You can see the top picture, left side. Then, as I said, it was a Norman Borlaug fellowship, and then we had a good exposure for 2 weeks visiting the farming or farmers farming of Iowa State and many other laboratories, including interaction with Professor Norman Borlaug. You can see on the bottom side, left side. We had opportunity to interact one-on face-to-face interaction with Professor Norman Borlaug, who and in the same event, that was basically the event which is very important event every year, World Food Price Symposium. I think it is happening in the October. So we were sent to attend that World Food Price Symposium, and we got opportunity to interact personally with Professor Norman Borlaug, and then also to visit his ancestor village, ancestor home. The right side picture on the bottom side, you can see his ancestor home. We had a wonderful experience visiting those, interacting with Professor Norman Borlaug. We also got chance to discuss with Dr. Swaminathan. And recently I got one biography from Norman Borlaug, which was distributed to us, which was released on the same day, and I went to Norman Borlaug, I requested to sign it, autograph it, so he autographed it for me, and I also had a copy of biography of Dr. Norman Borlaug, which is entitled The Man Who Fed the World. That book you can see in my hand, picture where I am standing in front of his ancestor home. So next slide maybe. And Prashant,
Yeah.
I don't think I really did a lot of work. Whatever work I did during my PhD, it also got good recognition. And the first recognition was the INSA, Indian National Science Academy Young Scientist Medal. You know, this very prestigious award for
Yes,
the
sir.
people under the age of 32. And probably I was the first from our laboratory, or maybe Merit University, that I was selected for that award in the year 2007. And that time President was Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar. And that experience, attending that program along with your spouse and this is a wonderful program that you are encouraged to do science, that scientists are also recognized in that way. So therefore I put up that picture there, that Indian National Science Academy really do take care of the people who are really working. So and then next year I also got selected for the National Academy of Sciences India, which is the oldest science academy in India, for the Platinum Jubilee Young Scientist Award in the year 2008. So you see that all the group photograph, Dr. Akhilesh Tyagi is also there, Madam Manju Sharma, who was the secretary of DBT, past secretary, so many people. So, and the photograph at the bottom, you see that National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, NAS, they also select associates, young associates. So I was also selected for that award in the year 2014. So these are some of the memorable events in my life that really you can get some credit to whatever little you have done. Then after joining NPK Rauli, so that time I also got selected for the Boys First Fellowship. You know, Boys First Fellowship is also an important
Yes,
event,
sir.
better opportunities for young scientists in the area of science and technology. And that time, the wish I had that I should work with Mark Sorrells. So I got the opportunity to work with Professor Mark Sorrells for 1 year as part of that Boys First Fellowship. So after 5 6 years of doing PhD, that feeling that I have already had in mind that I should work with this person got materialized, and in the year 2010 11, I spent almost 11 months working with Professor Mark Surels on association mapping in D at Cornell University. So this is the photograph you can see the two photos with Mark Surels in the center with white hat. He's an excellent guy. There are so many people who do things, but they get a lot of credit. and they are always there in this channel, that channel, media. But this is where I found that he's so down to earth guy that when you talk to him, you really feel that so simple man he is, and you will get inspired while working with people like him. So I also credit to Professor Mark Flores that I could learn association mapping. In fact, in the lab of Professor Gupta, we were already working on association genetics, but the practical exposure which I got is from the lab of Professor Mark Flores at Cornell University, where I also got opportunity to interact with many people, attend several meetings, their working style, and how different is our working culture from that of those in the US. Really, that was interesting to learn and execute some of the things which I learned from there. And finally, this is my family. Well, I could not capture all the people in this photograph, but on the left side, top left, on the left side is my elder sister, Dr. Aarti. I think she has also joined probably in this meeting. She is a gynecologist, MD gynecology. Uh, in fact, she has influenced me a lot. And then next is my wife, Ruchi, my father, then my two kids, and then on the extreme right is my mother. And then these two photographs with my kids. On the top right is the very old photograph with the on the side and the very recent on the bottom side. So I must give credit to these people who really shaped my career and really are with me in my whatever I am doing right now. So that's all, Prashant, about these photographs. Maybe we
Oh,
can.
wonderful, 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 and good to see Aditi ji as well here. Thank you so much for dropping by here. Namaskar, Aditi. This has been a wonderful journey, sir, which I think every student has to really take a wonderful leave from this journey. If you really look back, sir, I always wanted to ask you one thing. So it's quite amazing that you never had so-called long tenures of official postdoc. Every year is you had AGPSC, you had AGMSC, wonderful tutelage from Guruji, and you went on to publish perhaps the best articles, some of the best articles in plant genetics. And one angle probably I could rate is in PAG, theoretical applied genetics, on linkage disequilibrium in wheat on chromosome 3A, which I believe probably could be a favorite article if I may ask so. What was going through your mind, sir? What made you come up with wonderful publications, especially on burgeoning problem like linkage disequilibrium, that too on a hexaploid wheat, which is a kind of a very difficult scenario those days itself.
Well,
Could you please tell the audience?
Prashant, what happened? Our first review article on linkage distribution or association mapping we published in Plant Molecular Biology way back in 2005 with Dr. P.K. Gupta and Dr. Sachin Rustagi, who is now in the Clemson University as a faculty. So, in fact, that was the first article or any article on association mapping published from India. So, and it is having a lot of citations, more than 700 citations today. So, that we started working on association mapping that time, and then subsequently, my PhD work, which was on pre-RS coding and brain protein content. In fact, the article which you are referring, it is not on LinkedIn, it is on QTL mapping, or we identify a major two here. So, there is an interesting story behind that. We spent myself and Neeraj sir, who is also faculty in Clemson. We spent almost more than 2.5 months in South Campus Plant Molecular Biology Laboratory of Professor Achilles Tyagi, doing part of our genotyping work using AFLP marker. That time they had a sequencing machine, so we went there and a lot of work there. But subsequently we realized that that data is not very sufficient for us to have a complete linkage map of peak prepared. So one day Professor Gupta asked me, Pawan, it takes a lot of time for you. So how much time more you require for completing your PhD? I said, sir, I found one interesting candidate marker on the chromosomes 3A, and I want to study or scan that particular linkage group 3A, and maybe you can give me 15 days more so that I can scan, do the phenotype thing. And one day, Prashant, what happened when I started writing the marker analysis from that chromosome, after statistical analysis, I found that there is one major feature on that age group based on my data of six environments. And that really was very important candidate we are working in the Indian Railway. And subsequently, we spent a lot of time for analysis, and we came up with a very interesting article which was accepted in Theoretical Applied Genetics in 2005. That was the self publication coming out of my PhD thesis, and really that also helped me in getting some of the awards of INSA and NASI. So, and subsequently, those material which were identified, they were also used by Neeraj sir for information for marker selection.
Right, right. Wonderful, sir. Yeah. Sir, if you really look back, you had spent glorious 4.5 years in Guruji's lab. What's your wonderful take-home message from Guruji's lab? What is the kind of work ethics probably you might have really learned, which has allowed you to move forward as a successful scientist?
Prashant, the very thing which I really appreciate with Professor Gupta is that uh, he is a voracious reader and voracious writer. So anything, if you look into his career, basically started as a cytogeneticist. Now he is working on virtually every aspect. He is perfect in plant breeding, genetics, quantitative genetics, cytogenetics, molecular biology, molecular breeding, you name the subject. So one thing I learned is that you have to read what is happening in recent times. Then only you can understand. And another thing is that one thing which I also tell my students is that if you want to understand something new, start writing, collecting literature, and start writing a review article. Then only you will understand what is that particular thing. So, keeping in touch with the recent happening, reading as much as possible, and then writing it in your own language, that is the key aspect with Professor Gupta that not many people can do. In fact, not we also can do. He is really a fantastic guy. At this age, also is writing so many books and writing so many articles. But that he can write only because he is reading every day so many articles. That is one thing I really learned from Professor Gupta's lab, and also disseminate with my students that you have to read and start writing.
Yes, this is amazing, sir. I remember even during my short stint as well, we used to have wonderful morning tea time or coffee time, and in the evening again tea time. Guruji and Professor Balyan would probably prompt each one of us, at a very disciplined time, discuss the nitty-gritties of that day's work. A wonderful experience, sir. So I'm sure that you have been following this, or you have taken this particular strategy with your PhD fellows and with your research group as well, sir.
Sure, sure. Prashant, one thing is very different in when you work in the agriculture university and when you work in a traditional university like me. So what I see the difference is that in agriculture university you have a system that you have to complete the PhD in maybe 3 or 3.5 years. There is a timeline, no matter how much work you do. So, but in case of traditional universities like our Merit University or maybe South Campus, Delhi University, JNU, the objective which you are given, unless you fulfill that objective and write something good article, get it published, you are not allowed to submit a thesis. So, so you have freedom that you have to complete that objective in its totality. You have to really come up with something. But in case of the university system, ideal university system, anywhere in India, you see that you are binding that 6 semester is the timeline, or 3 years at the most you can extend it for 1 or 2 years more. But then there is a pressure that why your student is not able to submit. Then you are asked this question by the authority. So then you have certain limitations that not many people come up with many good articles. Always insist my student that you must start writing at least one paragraph one day. Then only probably at the end of your 3 year degree program will come up with some good articles, good review articles, good
Right.
topics. So that is what I would like to convey to the students. Many of my students are really there in the online.
Right, sir. Yeah, yeah. This is very inspiring, sir. I could imagine. Sir, you had a privilege and honor of working with one of the best plant geneticists, Guruji, in the form of Professor P.K. Gupta. And also you had an opportunity to interact with two wonderful eminent scientists who are fathers of green revolution, Norman Borlaug and as well as M.S. Swaminathan. And of course, Sorrells as well, Mark Sorrells. So if you really see the kind of wonderful science that they have done, lacking commonality among these eminent scientists, which probably the young generation can really take a leaf from them. So,
Prashant, one common point which we really learn, and in fact, that is also Professor Norman Borlaug told us when we interacted with him, and also in his biography, it has been mentioned very clearly that I don't know how many of other people have really read his biography. That is very interesting. One should try to read that. Professor Norman Borlaug always mentioned that when he joined the Senate, or when he joined Mexico, not Senate that time, it was not Senate. When he moved to Mexico to have cattle breeding program, he saw that there is a stereotype system that if I am a professor or I am a head of the department, then I will assign my job to my subordinate. That subordinate will assign that job to his subordinate, and finally percolates to the bottom, to the last person, who is probably labor. So Professor Norman Borlaug, Professor Swaminathan, and Professor Marston also. What I learned is that don't depend on anybody. You start doing yourself. Unless you take it, the lead yourself, you show them the example. The next person will not work for you. Even if he works for you, he will not put his all energy in that. So if it is your work, you have to do it yourself. That is what I also learned from Mark Thorell, that he was the chair of the Department of Cornell that time. When I visited his lab, I was working in his lab. And that time, that was recognition that he was one of the best marketing institute in USA. So you just imagine, the chair of that department, he himself used to work with us in the field, taking observations from the plant. And he also told one thing when I was working on 3 hours scouting with him. I asked him, Mark, can I record the data? So he said, no, this is my job, and last 25 years I am storing this data, taking observation myself. So I do not allow anybody. This is my job, and I am doing this, and I will do this. I don't depend on anybody else to have the data for it. So that is what is very, very striking. You don't see that picture in India, that head of department or any field scientist going to field and taking observation himself.
right. This is so true. In fact, probably the current generation should really learn this kind of discipline, the kind of simplicity from these great folks. So if we really look back, I mean, there was an era at some point of time that certain research students, they would never probably get into language research or agricultural research. Somehow they had kind of really peculiar theory articles that probably animal genetics or human research or human molecular research has got an upper hand than genetics research. What is your take on this? What is the advice, best advice that you really want to give to some of those students who really wanted to see a vibrance in plant genetics research?
Well, Prashant, they have to come out with that feeling that plant genetics is not an interesting subject. The reason I see that because whatever the discoveries or whatever science or whatever tools we are using in the plant genetics, we always say that these have already been used in human genetics or animal genetics, and then maybe, for example, you take the case of association genetics. It started with the humans because there is no alternative system like QTL
Right.
biological mating in plants. So we don't have any other technique. So we always say that association mapping, genomic selection, these all came from either human or cattle breeding. And then we are
Right.
implementing those tools or techniques in case of plants, like case of RFLP, it started with human genetics. And then we say that we are, so unless we are able to convince the student that there is nothing like that, that it was used first in animals or plants, or animals or humans, and then these are being used in plants. So plant is not the category that we should pick on at the last. It is an interesting subject because, in fact, I would suggest that plant genetics working is more comfortable than human and animal genetics because that is very strictly of that science. Plant genetics you can play with because like generation life cycle of plant is very small. You can have so many experiments done. You can have your hypothesis. You can do your own work number of times. Even if you fail in one generation or one season, you can have replicate it in the subsequent season. That is not the case in case of human genetics because life is precious and you cannot have that seasons or one season this year or observation another year. That we cannot do or we cannot replicate in the same thing in case of animals and humans. So plant genetics offers very much flexibility compared to human genetics and animal genetics. And therefore, there is a lot of scope for anybody who is coming to plant genetics. He can play with different plants. He can have his own ideas which he can execute, or he and she can execute very efficiently.
Right, right. Wonderful, sir. Well insighted. So this begs us a kind of a very important question. Do you agree to a point that probably plant genetics research or agricultural research has lagged behind animal research at least by 5 years in terms of the technology or the revolution that it has driven?
Well, I certainly agree that because as I earlier told that many people have that feeling in mind that there are very few discoveries which are really directly started with plant and they were then replicated in animal or human genetics. On the contrary, we always say that this has been done in plant or this has been done in humans and animals, and then we are using in plant system. So I also believe that plant genetics is not at par or the progress is at par with the. And another thing, Prashant, you probably may agree with that. Any good discovery in case of human or animal genetics may be published in can be published in Nature or Science or PNAS, but there are not many journals like where the discoveries of plants are really published, or there are no journals that of that standard like Lancet. Anything which is very wonderful discovery is published in Lancet or based on human genetics. But do we have journals like Lancet where the discoveries, landmark discoveries done in case of plants are published? So
Right.
that's the thing. So I think there is a discrepancy, and still it may take some time. Like now with the discovery of CRISPR and all those things, probably there may be few novel discoveries. We expect that it should come up or at par with that of human genetics.
Right, right, sir. Yeah. Very good, sir. So, sir, if you really look back into your career over the last 2 decades, what is the biggest achievement that you can think of, sir? If you can, if you really wanted to say that this is one important thing that you have really garnered success, which was, touching your heart, which was always, something, to cheer upon.
Well, Prashant, as I said in the very first question which you asked, in fact, when I started working on that wheat pre-harvest sprouting chromosome 3A, In fact, Professor Gupta also many times refer that case with so many people that that was not part of my objectives or that was not committed work. In fact, one day just approached him and mentioned, sir, this is the additional work which I really want to do. I want to see whether my hypothesis is right or wrong. Give me 15 days. And really, those 15 days, and then my analysis and my work on those 15 days. I used to work late night session that time in the lab. So I used to start my work at 9 p.m. and work up to 5 o'clock in the morning, so that I am not disturbed. Nobody is in the lab to disturb, so that I can focus on my analysis. So I think that was very satisfactory thing for me. That really that I and identified something and which was basically not meant or I would have submitted my thesis even without that analysis, but that really changed the way my thesis in what I am today.
Right, right. Very well, sir. Sir, if you really see, especially I'm really going back to Guruji's lab, the wonderful experience. At a time, there were almost three postdocs and about eight PhD fellows working at that time, and about 10 or 12 different project fellows working at that point of time. And yet, there were wonderful discussions every time. And of course, when a lab is quite big, there are certainly a kind of competence building. It's not just competence building. When I say competence building, it's always in terms of healthy competition.
Yes, yes.
Can you recall any one moment where probably you might have really garnered some kind of an inspiration, working among several wonderful research fellows under the tutelage of Guruji?
Well, in fact, as I mentioned that when I spent 15 days as part of my MSc program in Professor lab, that time I saw these three people working, Raju Varshney, Joy Kumar Roy and Manoj Prasad. So when I saw in fact them working in the laboratory and then subsequently when I joined PhD, all these three people were there, still there in the laboratory. In fact, I used to stay with them for next few months. Uh, so they used to always talk that we have done this, our publication has been accepted in there are a series of publications that they have accepted. So the question for me that I had no idea what impact factor was 20 years ago or what impact, but they used to talk about impact factor and all those things that your work is work only if somebody is reading it, somebody is citing it. I had no idea when I joined the PhD that there 20 years ago that there is a impact factor thing or citation like this. So when I stayed with them, I started with working with them. In fact, I learned so many techniques from Joy Kumar Roy. In fact, I must mention, we were roommates for almost 2 years. Uh, so Joy Kumar Roy really taught me several techniques like AFLP, radioactive, how to use radioactive and do page analysis and so many things. So I got a lot of inspiration from working with these three fellows, Raju Varshney, Manoj Prasad and Joy Kumar Roy. In fact, and after that, Mirastar was my immediate senior, but we were working on this same aspect. Only thing was the difference of population. He had different material, I had different material. We used to travel a lot during that time to one of my PhD trials used to be at Pantnagar, another used to be at KU, Ludhiana. So we used to shuttle from Meerut to Pantnagar to Ludhiana and back to Meerut for 2 years continuously for taking observations. But I really got the inspiration, first inspiration was Professor P.K. Gupta himself and the
Right.
fellows, as I mentioned, like these three fellows who were working for their PhD and postdoc.
Right, right. Very good, sir. Sir, one of the important areas or gray areas in plant research is the climate change affecting the plants or climate change affecting primarily the cash crops. And one of the main entities that is often discussed is the abiotic stress management, especially in plants. But somehow, if you really see the abiotic stress related QTLs or the kind of genetics research going through over the last 2 decades, somehow we couldn't probably replicate that particular thing in analogy with the other plants. So, for example, if we are able to take up certain abiotic stress related QTLs to a certain extent for one particular plant, not really, for the other particular plants, it would be a kind of a cumbersome approach. It's a kind of a Herculean approach sometimes. Uh, what is the reason behind this, sir? Why is that we are not able to establish markers impromptu in plants when compared to probably the human or the animal genetics research?
Well, Prashant, the one thing you need to understand how many people are really working on the plant system as compared to that of human genetics. Second, amount of money
Right.
which is given in the or spent in terms of human genetics vis-a-vis that of the plant genetics. But but there are several examples, excellent examples, particularly abiotic stresses, where the marker technique has really done. In fact, if you can
Right.
take the example of rice itself, submergence tolerance, sub 1 QTL, which has been probably the best example in the world, ERI, International Rice Institute, has done. In fact, they identified a QTL from a land basin from Odisha, and then they found it is thousand to study for up to 2 weeks. So then, using molecular breeding technique, marker selection technique, they progress that QTL or that gene to conduct molecular breeding, including now almost all the release varieties are having that QTL. So similar is the DRO1 gene in case of rice, where the root architecture has been modified, where the rather than the root system has been modified to be a spreading type, so that it can occupy more area and take up more water. So abiotic stress is a challenging. Another important thing is that unless we come up with a multidisciplinary approach, like we have a project on climate smart agriculture and water management, which is World Bank funded through ICR. I'm also part of that. So now it is led by agriculture engineering team, but we have a group of 50 people where everybody is from different disciplines. So unless we join hands, interdisciplinary approach, there is hardly any possibility that abiotic stress problem is going to be solved, or we can see any breakthrough in that aspect. But rice is one example where a lot of work has been done. Wheat is also having. Only thing is that not many are in the what we say projections for which not many people get that projection that this work has been done. For example, if you do something good discovery in case of human genetics, you get recognition. But maybe there are so many examples in case of plant genetics, particularly abiotic stress, which are probably not many people are knowing. But a lot of work is also being done. In recent years, a lot of emphasis is being given on abiotic stresses.
Right, right. Very, very well said, sir. Thank you so much for this. Sir, you have worked in wonderful laboratories with wonderful people and all, and of course, with your colleagues as well. Of course, as a scientist, we often tend to come up with a lot of disagreements. How did you arrive at certain kind of disagreements in an agreeable way with your colleagues? Can you give one example, because the young generation certainly needs a kind of a big lesson on this. The young generation, probably with due respect to them, they need to understand the nitty-gritties on how to disagree in an agreeable way with their colleagues or with their seniors. Yeah, please.
Prashant, I often say this, and I also believe that the best way to solve any issues or problem is to have a conversation. Like you have a Sci'versation, I always believe that unless we discuss face to face with that particular person, what is his problem, what is my problem, and then only we can come to a logical conclusion, and then probably you certainly can make another person believe, unless or if you are really means focused to convincing and face to face discussion or interaction with him. Just writing a mail or doing that is not going to work. So if you are in a dispute or any disagreement, I always believe go to that person and directly talk to him, and maybe that is the best way to convince him or to sort out the differences or disagreements.
Right, wonderful, sir. As you always have been, I mean, this is a wonderful way, sir. One important thing, I mean, you might have produced good PhD fellows, and probably there might be another generation from those PhD fellows whom you have produced as well. They're also probably into business of doing research and all. I'm sure the legacy is being built right from Guruji's era. Do you see a kind of a huge transformation in the way researchers look at the way of writing a review article? Probably during our days there was no that kind of internet that probably we have these days today. And yet, because unfortunately, because of some reasons or the other, people are more prone to prevalent media things, big internet things, a lot of text that can be taken from the internet and all those kind of stuff. Go through these kind of different phases. What is the best advice that you may really want to give to the young generation who really wanted to write a good review article? Because you have been a part of wonderful review articles that are highly cited, more than 700 citations, probably for more than 2 or 3 articles. Please, sir. Yeah.
Well, Prashant, I also mentioned earlier that one thing when you start writing a review is not that you are copying and pasting it from one article, because nowadays it is very easy to have all those articles. Or the most important thing, one of the PhD students is always there. I always mention this thing to her. Need to, she's already there. Uh, One comment recently that one of the review article is that it is a compilation, it is not a synthesis. But there is a difference between these two things. When you compile for a chapter of your thesis, that is different thing. You are just putting something that Prashant has done this, Pawan has done this. But when you are writing a review article, it has to be a synthesis from that. These many studies have been done, and this is your conclusion. This is your logical interpretation of what has been done and what can be done. So I remember recently last year we published one review article on association mapping and advanced in genetics to the PK Gupta. We had two articles, one in 2014 and one in 2019. So in 2019, article it took almost 3 years for me and Gupta and also Bandana was one of the authors. It took almost Prashant 3 years for us to read hundreds of articles, including those of human genetics.
Oh,
And
oh,
then only, and we had almost more than 50 revisions on those articles. Then
right.
subsequently we submitted that article to, or review article to Advances in Genetics. And then subsequently it
Okay.
was accepted. So writing a review is very tough job, because nowadays uh, every journal is going to plagiarism check, so they immediately can track from where you have copied that sentence or which paragraph has been copied from there. So today writing a review, it really takes, unless you have read those number of articles which you have cited in your review references, you cannot write a good review article, because it takes a lot of synthesis, not only compiling the literature. Synthesis is very important. I like the comment of one of the that editor in chief who mentioned it should have been a synthesis rather than a review.
Right. Right. Yes, sir. Wonderful explanation on this, sir. I remember you have worked extensively in the lab. You used to work overnights, which I mean there were days even you used to sleep in the lab as well. But maybe soon after you got married, how did you try to probably contain that work-life balance? Can you please give a kind of a gist on this, sir?
Well, Roshan, those this period I spent in Meerut. In fact, not me. Whosoever has worked in Meerut, they have. They are the habit of working late nights, and they almost everybody used to sleep in the laboratory itself. We used to go early in the morning back to home, and within 2 hours we used to come back to the laboratory. But that was okay for while doing PhD. But the same thing cannot be done after you get married. So,
Right,
in fact, when I joined Akola as assistant professor, after even my marriage, I used to subscribe almost table of contents for almost 3 dozen journals, including all PhD
right,
literature, and used to spend a lot of time on those reading the table of content and reading some of the interesting articles. But anyhow, subsequently, when after coming to Rahuri, and then I could not find that much time to read those many articles because we have to give some time to kids also. Although I'm not giving that much time, my wife is there online. So, but at least your priorities will to be changed, and also the nature of duties and responsibilities also change with your course. And so many times you feel that you are tired, not in a mood to be work from home, coming back to home from office. So these days it is really a tough time to really spend more time on the working or reading and writing while at home.
right, right. Yeah, this is well said, sir. Absolutely amazing. Last couple of questions, sir. Do you have any dream projects to come up with, sir? Where do you see yourself the next probably 2 decades of your career now? What is your next few goals probably that you might have set in your plant genetics research?
Prashant, in fact, I'm really interested in, as you mentioned, the abiotic stress, dealing with the abiotic stresses. Now, recently, I also had a project sanctioned from DBT. In fact, it is a network project on feed abiotic stress. They are dealing with biotic and abiotic stresses. My component is on abiotic stress, particularly heat stress. In fact, really, I wanted to work on that aspect using the recent advances in the area of abiotic stress, like as I mentioned, interdisciplinary team. So I'm not very conversant with those recent techniques like hyperspectral imaging, drones, and all those things. But because we already had one of more project of World Bank funded, so in that we have the provision of all those tools, high-end tools. I would like to use those tools and to see something new coming out from the abiotic stress experiment rather than using the stereotype or the age-old techniques to screen the material. How best we can use recent advances in abiotic stress management. That is what, in fact, I really want to pursue, or that is my area of interest for the next maybe 1 decade.
Right, right. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So this is about my favorite Pawan Kulwal, sir. He has been absolutely amazing, inspiring, and of course, motivating as ever. I need to tell a small story about this. I hope Pawan sir don't mind. I joined the lab in 2003 January, and in February I had to get married, and then that was the time when I just started my research career, and I had to get married, and then I had a lot of apprehensions in giving invitation letter to Guruji, Professor P.K. Gupta. And then, as a newly married person, as a newbie who has just finished his MSc and got married, learning intricacies or bringing, that kind of seriousness has never been my case, probably. I don't know. But, there are a lot of mistakes that I did. And I was ousted from Guruji's lab. And it was Pawan Kulwal sir who made a wonderful approach. He convinced sir that Prash Kurakenge, Ekaring and all. And that was my stepping stone for my probably success. The moment that I was hosted from the lab, I realized the importance of doing research. That is where your seniors will really help you move forward. Of course, one great thing that Guruji was has hosted me, has really helped me move forward to learn some kind of intricacies. But more than that, it was Pawan sir, Neeraj sir, and Rajiv Bandhakia sir, who were there with me, who has helped me understand the girl behind doing research.
Prashant, maybe I can interrupt you for a minute. Uh,
Yeah.
I still remember that day when you got that letter from Professor Balian that you mentioned about that you have to leave the lab. So when you know that when Professor Gupta used to go home after office hours, somebody used to accompany him from the top floor to till his vehicle. So that day, I still remember when that letter was given to you to leave the lab. So I talked to Professor Gupta. I said, Guruji, don't you think that you have taken a very strong or very strange decision? So what I still remember what he mentioned. He mentioned Pawan. Maybe Prashant may feel very sad for this, but this is the time that I am looking for his career. Reason I am repeating that why I have taken this decision is in his interest that he is more interested in bioinformatics and therefore he should leave this lab and join a laboratory where he can pursue his career. That maybe he will feel very sad. That is what he told me when I went to him and said, "Sir, why are you issue such letter to him to leave the lab? He is very good student." But he, you probably can realize today that because you do not know this what happened with me and Guruji that I tried to convince, but he said this is in his interest that he can pursue his dream of bioinformatics unless he leave this lab because our lab is not meaning for bioinformatics during that time.
Right. Very well said, sir. That's how true it is. That's how what we can call it as blessing in disguise, which probably at that point of time I might not have realized, but after several years and seeing the kind of wonderful growth and successful years that I've really garnered, I really learned a lot of things, not only from you, but also from people like you. How to be simple, how to ask certain questions, that are usually not asked, especially in a community or in a kind of a conference kind of things. That was I would still call it as the golden era of my research. So thank you so much, sir, for being here. It's been absolutely awesome. It's been absolutely delightful for having you here as one of my favorite guests for this in Sci'versation with Prash. Before we say goodbye, sir, do you have any quick comments to the audience or any suggestions that you really want to give to the young generation?
Well, Prashant, I don't think I am a big guy to say something or to suggest. But since I see several of my PhD or MSc students online, the only suggestion is that uh, don't just put your time or MSc or PhD as a time we invest in any LIC policy that दो साल काम किया 3 साल काम किया. No, when you are spending that much time of your life, 2 years, 3 years, or 6 years, at least you make best use of that. You come up with something or you pursue your career in the same thing. Because we see that after doing PhD, many people go to banking sector or many other non-related things. So it is not that you have spent a lot of your energy and the best period of your life working on certain objective. So pursue your career in the same thing. That is what I would like to suggest.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It's been so inspiring, so motivating to hear from you as always. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time and energy today. I also thank your family for bringing this wonderful time today. To the audience, I think this is Pawan Kulwal, sir. You always can reach him at pawankulwal@gmail.com. Or I think just like Guruji, Professor P.K. Gupta would also answer to every email. Yeah, no email would really go unanswered whenever you contact sir. He is also active in Facebook and he has organized so many such events, the virtual events. The last virtual event I remember, there were even 2,000 people who have really attended. He's a wonderful person, always asks some kind of questions. It's a wonderful thing, talking to Pawan sir as always. And
Thank
one
you
final thing.
for spending your time and having me on your this hour session.
Oh yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, and one final thing. I apologize now for this inadvertent intrusion of a hacker. That was not expected. मैं आप सबको हाथ जोड़ के विनती कर रहा हूँ. It was not intentional. I don't know how it happened, but in the YouTube we'll remove that. I am Gupta, my colleague and PhD fellow, is editing that particular thing. So thank you so much for dropping by today. Let's thank Pawan sir with a big round of applause. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful time and energy. So next week, Pawan sir and I would join having Professor P.K. Gupta, our Guruji, on the eve of Teachers' Day, which will be meeting exactly 1 week from now. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye bye. Namaskar. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pawan sir. Yeah.